Family Church. Hope you're all doing well. Just want to encourage you today with something that I feel like God's been speaking to me about during this time of prayer and fasting. And I just want to tell you that He's the God who finishes what He starts. He doesn't finish a job halfway through or forget what He's doing or go and have a nap and fall asleep. He's faithful and He finishes what He starts. You may be praying, using this time to pray and fast for something specific in your life or for a loved one. And sometimes it might seem like God is silent or He's forgotten you. And in times like this, you just need to just keep trusting. He's not forgotten. He can't forget. Pastor Stuart spoke a few days ago about how God is working behind the scenes on your behalf, that He hears your prayers and that He's working on details behind the scenes that you may not ever know about, but He hears you and He's faithful. And how do we know? How do we know that He's the God who finishes what He starts? Well, read the Bible. Right the way from creation, He rested on the seventh day. He'd finished and He was happy with the job that He'd done. Right the way through to Jesus dying on the cross, and Jesus cried out, "It is finished." He'd done what He came to do. And every story in the Bible just shows God's perfect plan and His faithfulness, and that He finishes what He begins. Two of my favourite stories are Joseph and Esther, and read them. They're really exciting and amazing and will just inspire you, because even they went through so many storms and trials and hard times and times of waiting. They must have felt like God had forgotten them, or that they were insignificant and not important to God. But they just kept believing and kept waiting and kept faithful to God. And in the end, God's timing was perfect, and He did what He intended to do, and not only answered their prayer, but through them answered the prayers of many, many people and saved many, many people. So God's always, He hears your prayers, and He knows what He's going to do anyway. And you're no different. God hears you. I'll give you a personal example. My mum prayed a prayer for 50 years. She was praying to be reconciled with a loved one for 50 years, and she just quietly trusted that God's timing would be perfect and that He would do exactly what needed to be done. And He did. 50 years later, He did it in such an amazing, miraculous way that could only have been Him, that just proved that He heard, even though it was taking a lot longer than we'd expected or hoped. He was working on every detail. He cares about every detail. And He was working behind the scenes, and His timing was perfect. He doesn't always do things when we expect Him to, or the way that we expect Him to, but He's faithful and He's good and He loves you. And that loved one that you're praying for, He knows. He loves them more than you do. He knows them more than you do. But His timing is perfect, and we can trust Him. He's good. He's a good, good Father. So just keep believing and keep trusting, and have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.